Okay, good afternoon. We'll get started. What we're going to be doing here for the next hour plus is to talk about some cross-agency alignment that could benefit both organizations, the MDF where you are today, and CESMII, which is sponsoring this event. My name is Haresh Malkani. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at CESMII. Been around for 6 years with CESMII. Prior to that, I was in industrial R&D working for a large aluminum company. One of the locations happens to be in Knoxville, and you'll know what that name is. But most of my career has been in what we are now calling smart manufacturing. It was, the combination of sensing and analytics and control and modeling and so on and so forth. So I'm happy to be here. I'm joined by Ryan Dehoff, who's you will introduce yourself a little bit later. We're going to be co-moderating this session. We have a great group of panelists today to talk about this subject. And they will introduce themselves as they come on stage here. But the idea here was to get some cross-agency perspectives on the subject matter today. So we have folks from the Department of Energy, we have people from NIST, and we also have people from the Department of Defense. So it'll be a great conversation. The way this will work is that Ryan will provide an introduction to MDF, just a brief introduction. I'll provide a brief introduction to CESMII, and then we'll move on to the Q&A session. We have a few questions with us. We also want to actually open this up to the audience and have a good interactive session going forward. Because this is a CESMII event, we are obligated to read the antitrust statement, although there's probably less of that applicable for this particular session. But all participants in this meeting need to be mindful of the constraints of the antitrust laws. There shall be no discussion of agreements or concerted actions that may restrain competition. This prohibition includes the exchange of information concerning individual prices or any other competitive aspect of an individual company's operation. Each participant is obligated to speak up immediately for the purpose of preventing any discussion falling outside these bounds. So I have done my duty. So like I said, we're just going to have a couple of introductions from us, and then we'll go on to the Q&A. So with that, Ryan, if you want to come up and.
Sure. My name is Ryan Dehoff. I am the director of the manufacturing demonstration at Oak Ridge. Yep. I've been at Oak Ridge for about 15 years. I've actually had the pleasure of seeing this place start, evolve, grow, and have been able to be a part of a lot of the impacts that this facility has had. So we are part of Oak Ridge National Laboratory. We are funded by the Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technology Office, AMTO, within DOE. Chris Saldaña will be part of our panel later. Oak Ridge National Laboratory is a really large organization, right? We have about 7,000 people associated with the laboratory. DOE has made very large investments around specific core R&D, fundamental science activities. These include things like the computational sciences. We have some of the fastest supercomputers in the world. We have really unique characterization tools like the spallation neutron source that allow us to probe materials and do very basic science. We also have a really strong history in material science and engineering. So when I came down here as a graduate student, as a postdoc, I worked very early on in metal additive manufacturing about 15 years ago, doing a Ph.D. and a postdoc. And at the time, there were some very fundamental challenges. And I said, I'm going to Oak Ridge to be a welding metallurgist. Thank God I never have to work on that technology again. It's never going to work. And what was really exciting for me is because we had the support of DOE to really try to change that technology space and bring the full power of the laboratory and all of that expertise and capability to put towards advanced manufacturing, specifically to try to make an impact in industry, trying to get that technology integrated, show the art of what's possible, and show sort of the opportunities that that can have in energy applications, energy efficiency, and basically just technology development holistically. So we will go over to the main campus this afternoon, or I guess this evening for the event. You'll see some of the supercomputers there. But right now we're at an offsite facility. We're about halfway between the University of Tennessee, Oak Ridge National Laboratory main campus, and the airport. So we get to have some unique benefits that allows industry, it allows academia, folks like yourself, to be able to come in and access these resources and these capabilities that DOE has put here, right? And so the way that we really describe the MDF as an ecosystem, we are not trying to solve all of these problems ourselves. We work very closely with industry, other government organizations, academia. We get somewhere on the order of about 5,000 to 8,000 visitors through the facility a year, on the order of about 1,100 companies. RPIs interact with individuals. They take that feedback of what are the challenging problems holistically across the industry that need solved. We work with DOE to boil down and really refine those ideas on where can DOE investment be maximized for impact in these specific technology areas. Then we work with our industrial partners to help solve those problems. Most of the time, industry has 80 to 90% of the solution. They have a vision, they know where we want to go, but they don't have everything that you need to really push that technology over the edge. And so what DOE has invested in is that last expertise that helps industry adopt the technology, do that fundamental science, and do that type of research. We get to work with the AMTO to really refine the challenges, but then other parts of DOE get to come in and access those resources for their specific outcomes, right? So we might be working on wind projects, geothermal projects, nuclear energy projects. They are all leveraging that resource and that investment by AMTO, as well as others like the Department of Defense, NASA, NIST, other government organizations can also come in and leverage this, right? And recently, we put together our roadmap for the facility and are really focused on 3 areas: the secure supply chain, looking at domestic supply chains for clean energy, improving energy and material efficiencies, and accelerating the adoption of smart manufacturing processes. On the tour today, you'll see a lot of what we're trying to do in the smart manufacturing space. For me, I'm a firm believer that I've seen that advanced manufacturing has significantly benefited by the introduction and adoption of smart manufacturing processes. So I'm really excited that everybody gets to see that on the tour. In the instance of time, I'll turn it back over and see how you can envision us collaborating with CESMII.
Sure, thank you, Ryan. So, you know, how many of you actually are familiar with CESMII's work? I would have been surprised if like no hands went up. One of the reasons why I asked that is that, you know, we are constantly in our communication mode through the nation. All of us have our own way of telling the story. All of us interact with different parts of the ecosystem. And so the interactions that you may have had with CESMII, the CESMII team may have been different. So this is a great opportunity for you to be here today and tomorrow to kind of learn about all aspects of CESMII in a way. So one of the things that I like to do is to kind of give you a broad picture. So CESMII is one of our DOE-sponsored institutes. It's been around since 2017. Our first 5 budget periods just ended. We were just renewed for our next 5 years. So thank you, DOE. We have a great DOE team that we've been working with. And every one of these institutes begins with a roadmap. That's part of the requirement. And the roadmap was established in 2017. And the roadmap then determines our strategy going forward. What are we going to do in technology? What are we going to do in workforce education or the ecosystem? This morning, if you were here this morning for the technical sessions and the workforce development sessions, those are two components of what we do. And what I'd like to say is that CESMII is sort of a cross-cutting institute. So we play in a lot of industry verticals. Our technologies and workforce education programs are cross-cutting again. So we touch many industries. So if you just look at a snapshot of what CESMII has been doing in the last 5-6 years, this is one way to depict that. If you look at the left-hand side here, this is all about developing smart technologies and bringing the ecosystem together to say, what are the hard problems that you need to solve in manufacturing that can be solved by smart manufacturing? So that's that first pillar. And in that pillar, we've been actually using this concept of smart manufacturing building blocks. So you take sensors and analytics and predictive modeling and control and all that stuff put together to solve a manufacturing problem. And we've demonstrated, in particular, for some really energy intensive industries like steel and cement, that we can achieve between 10 and 25% reduction in energy consumption for those industries. So our job is to develop and demonstrate, and that's one of the verticals that we've done. The second one is about the smart manufacturing information flow and the platform that enables that. So if you were here this morning, you heard a lot of the technical details around it. But that's a means for us to reduce the cost and complexity of delivering these systems to our manufacturers, right? And making it so that you can replicate that with very low cost. So along those lines, we've shown that we can actually reduce 25 to 50% in implementation costs. So we've worked with a lot of small and medium manufacturers. We provided the platform technologies to them, and then we worked through to solve actual problems like performance and productivity by utilizing that set of technologies. And the third piece is the education and training piece. And this is where Conrad is here from our team back there. He ran a session this morning as well. That our focus there is not just the talent pipeline, but also more importantly, the workforce that's already out there. And so it's a two-faced strategy. And in that, we've developed a lot of curriculums with our academic partners, both 4-year and 2-year programs. And then we've developed a lot of material and training programs and certifications for those that are already in the workforce today. Again, a great story on CESMII's side. So those are the three main pillars of what CESMII has been doing. And a lot of this is obviously available on the website, but there are some other sessions taking place tomorrow. I welcome you to join us on that. There's one session at 2:30 where I'll be talking about more of the success stories from a project's standpoint. Welcome to join me. Now, once all this stuff is done, we have an ecosystem of smart manufacturing innovation centers. So think of them as our arms and legs across the nation in regional areas that can take what we do and develop and then help us disseminate that through. So a lot of you actually, maybe some of you are here from the MEPs I heard this morning. Those are one of the partner institutions that we are working with very aggressively. So again, so that's really the landscape of what CESMII is and what it's done at a very high level. And certainly if you have questions around any of the details, I'm happy to share them with you later on. So with that said, I'll just welcome the panelists to come up and take the stage. We have Raju Namburu from the Department of Defense. We have Jyoti Malhotra from the national programs and she's leading the MEP organization. We have Kelley Rogers from the Advanced Manufacturing Office from NIST, and we have Chris Saldaña from DOE, AMTO. Give that to them or give that one to them. So maybe what we'll do is just brief introductions, take 2, 3, 4 minutes, however long you need to just tell us about who you are, what your mission is, and why this session is important to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Chris Saldaña, the Department of Energy, as Ryan said, Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technologies Office. So we're the primary funder of the MDF out of and CESMII out of the Department of Energy. So we're an applied energy office where we sit kind of in the middle between where basic science operates as well as some of the infrastructure offices at the department. So at the Department of Energy, Smart Manufacturing, we believe has a strong potential impact across the energy sector. So looking at how we make components that are important for future energy systems, from renewable energy to nuclear energy and others, smart manufacturing can play a major role in making our manufacturers here in the United States more competitive when we think of the cost basis for producing components here domestically. But it also plays a major role in how we might address some of our decarbonization goals across the industrial sector, which is a strong connection to the past work of CESMII and the folks in this room. So the opportunity for you all to come here and to see these two communities come together, the manufacturing demonstration facility, as well as CESMII, I think is a really unique opportunity. We have here a great physical capability at our national laboratory, and the scientists and bright minds that we have that are doing cutting edge research through our science mission, but also really the tip of the spear when it comes to smart manufacturing technology development going on through CESMII. So I just look forward to the conversations that will happen both in this panel as well as throughout the rest of the meeting, and try to talk about how we envision at the Department of Energy how smart manufacturing is going to play a major role moving forward for our industrial sector. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me back there?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. My name is Jyoti Malhotra. I'm the Division Chief for National Programs with NIST MEP. MEP is Manufacturing Extension Partnership. I want to know my audience. So how many of you are aware of MEP? Oh, very nice, very nice. And I would like to give kudos to MEP centers who are in the audience today. So Texas MEP, I see you. Can you stand, please? I also know Florida MEP is here, Rhode Island MEP is here. So if you are in the audience, thank you so much. They get the big picture and they're representing our national network today. So thank you MEP centers for being present. I would like to tell you a little bit about MEP National Network. It's truly one network. We have 51 MEP centers, one in every nation and in Puerto Rico. And, as Chris, you were mentioning about the smart manufacturing and about the goals for our nations, advancing our nation's manufacturing and global competitiveness. All the panelists here that you see, they share that goal. So your help is critical. Your presence is critical. So thank you for coming here today. MEP National Network, their major 80% of their clientele is small and medium-sized manufacturers. Our nation's ecosystem, majority of the manufacturers are small. And I was looking at some statistics in preparation of this panel. And it's not me saying, it's the Bureau of Economic Analysis and the Bureau of Labor Statistics are saying that 13 million workers in September 2024 were contributed to the manufacturing. About $3 trillion goes from manufacturing sector to our US, our nation's economy. So answering Haresh, your last question, why? This is critical that we make as many intersections with not just the federal entities, but small manufacturers, large manufacturers. MEP National Network does exactly that. They connect with different stakeholders and partners, the P of MEP, very critical, to help strengthen our US manufacturing ecosystem. So I'm very, it's a privilege to be joining you to celebrate your 7th year anniversary. Congratulations to CESMII team. And I must tell you, Ryan, 2 decades ago, I almost took postdoc with Oak Ridge National Lab, but Argonne National Lab, I should say, poached me there, and that was closer to my home, so I went there. But truly, truly fascinated and looking forward to seeing your facility. Thanks everyone for being here, and really happy to be part of this panel today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Right, and good afternoon, everyone. Of course, now I'm going to get the frog in my throat. So I'm Kelley Rogers. I'm the Deputy Director in the Office of Advanced Manufacturing at NIST. I'm going to assume that all of you are engaged with Manufacturing USA because you are here at the CESMII member meeting, but Manufacturing USA is convened. It's an interagency program, and it's convened by the Office of Advanced Manufacturing at NIST. We serve as the National Program Office for the 17 institutes that are there. We're also currently competing, I think many of you are aware, of Institute number 18 on digital twins for semiconductor manufacturing, and Institute 19, which would be AI for resilient manufacturing. So we, Jyoti's already laid out why NIST in the Department of Commerce cares deeply about manufacturing. There is no such thing for our nation as economic competitiveness if we are not succeeding as manufacturers. And then, of course, there's the national security component. If we don't control enough of our manufacturing and our supply chains, then we don't have security in our national defense. So this is an opportunity to really support smart manufacturing as what our small to medium manufacturers and our large manufacturers, who can be slow to adopt for other reasons. But we need them. We need them to be fully competitive in a global economy. And so NIST is here to help with that.
Good afternoon. My name is Raju Namburu. My title is I'm a CTO for Information Technology Lab for US Army ERDEC. But in previous things, I worked a lot with Department of Army and Department of Defense on different aspects of my career. So within the DOD, it's a much bigger organization in the sense like manufacturing goes across the whole shebang of all the labs. There is something or other goes on, because one of the things is we are always looking for innovative solutions, because we want to prepare our soldiers as the best, whatever is needed. And we want to decrease the logistics price a lot lower. Maybe certain things we want to do at the point of need. Maybe some manufacturing or repairs, whatever supposed to be. And maybe some technologies available at that location, we want to do that. So that means we need to have a characterization of materials and all. As you know, still the standards and certification, validation are part of the whole process. So there's strange constraints. I think maybe some of the manufacturing, whatever is coming, we are trying to do that in the DOD environment kind of a thing. So it's going to push a little bit to look at the technologies far beyond what we're looking. And here, I think one of my main interests is this is a big ecosystem, and we are looking for talent of getting innovativeness. And sometimes by understanding some problems, maybe you'll better understand what we are looking for. Maybe one of the things I strongly suggest you to go for some of the defense manufacturing conference or some of those kinds of things. So within the organizations, as you know, we talk some lingo. Sometimes we may write some strategy document, but a lot of lingo will be there. But if you see something, immediately it clicks you, oh, this is what they're looking for. And we go through a lot of analysis of trying to bring what is our roadmap is supposed to be, what are the gaps, so that we want to fund those things. But the technologies are moving so fast and things are happening so fast, and we need to regroup or readjust. Maybe my primary interest is really looking at what are things we can get from whatever is going on here into our kind of a thing so we can connect the dots better. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's actually a great segue into the first question. So and you've all seen the manufacturing demonstration facility before. You're very familiar with CESMII. So we like to call each organization like centers of excellence in that space, right? Because we have complementary technologies and expertise that takes us forward. So knowing what we have to offer and knowing what your strategic missions are in each of your organizations, can you like come up with some specific areas where you think that this would be useful to kind of take that first step in, right? So Kelley, if I can start with you, maybe.
Sure. So NIST laboratory programs have a lot of technology in smart manufacturing, right? And everyone who knows NIST knows that we're all about standardization. And in order to do a good job in standardization for smart manufacturing, we need access to the data. We need to have industry convened in agreement about what those data standards look like, so that we can, have the infrastructure, right, to be able to offer real solutions to people, right? Not just customized solutions, one manufacturer at a time, but what are the frameworks and the policies, and how do we approach that as a whole of ecosystems approach? So I see partnership between the NIST laboratory programs and CESMII and the MDF as a way of NIST having better access to the thinking, right? And making sure that the solutions and the way that we think is very well informed. And then, of course, we have our own manufacturing test bed, smart manufacturing test bed. And so I think that there's a lot of natural synergy to that. And then taking off my NIST Labs hat and putting on my Manufacturing USA hat, smart manufacturing, I mean, the digitization of manufacturing, that's a cross-cut enabling technology for advanced manufacturing sectors in general. And if we think of advanced manufacturing, we're either thinking of trying to make new products that we can't make using our current manufacturing, right? So we need to advance our manufacturing so that we can get to those products that we want to put in the marketplace. Or how do we increase our productivity? How do we adopt these smart manufacturing technologies so that we can produce existing products, but more cost competitively, more energy efficient, and just really increase our ability to succeed in a global marketplace with less cost, so that we are more competitive. And when I think of that, I think of ways of collaborating across the Manufacturing USA network. And I know CESMII and CESMII are closely collaborating. I think that there's an opportunity to extend that. I think MDF has partnerships with the Advanced Robotics Institute, and there are several institutes where I think that they could use some help reaching their small manufacturers. So.
Excellent.
Who's next?
Anyone else wants to?
Okay. Kelley, that was really appreciate Kelley bringing the NIST laboratories into the, into her answer there. I'll add on to that, and then I want to switch gears to MEP. What MEP National Network and how we can triangulate CESMII, Oak Ridge National Labs, MDF, and MEP National Network. In terms of the NIST labs, Kelley summarized it very well. I'll add only one more thing, and that is circular economy. What I am learning from our centers is, again, connecting the dots. We have these advanced manufacturing technologies. We have these, we are helping the small manufacturers, medium-sized manufacturers understand how they can integrate these technologies for efficiency, for product process throughput, for rolling out a new product line. But what I learned from our MEP centers is the bottom line. How is it helping the manufacturers cost savings, or keeping their doors open, right? Large manufacturers versus small manufacturers. The way I see is NIST laboratories have their expertise and resources to help implement some of these aspects of circular economy. How we can work together and leverage your work products. CESMII, you have great technology road mapping, you have demonstration toolkits. Oak Ridge, you have your, the user facilities. How we can leverage these resources you have to help give that best ROI for the manufacturers. That's where I see the link is. We have Dwayne from Tennessee MEP Center here. Smart manufacturing, when I talk to the younger generation, they think about the cool tools, the AI, but it's goes beyond that. Smart manufacturing can be implemented in every sector. Tennessee MEP Center, Dwayne's team here have worked with a small manufacturer, a farm equipment manufacturer, understanding their pain points, working with them. The Tennessee MEP has also worked with medical device manufacturer, understanding their needs and implementing these, cost-effective, smart manufacturing solutions. But I truly want to see, I like to make different intersection. I like to make the square where we have NIST lab resources for circular economy. You have your MDF, CESMII, and then MEP National Network. Let's make those shapes and see what intersections can yield tangible outcomes for our manufacturing ecosystem.
That's a great point. Thank you.
Sure. As I said we opened, I think MDF and CESMII have very complementary capabilities here. At the MDF, for those of you that, I think quite a few people here, probably is the first time you've come to the MDF. When you get an opportunity to walk the floor, I think you'll see there's a wide range of technologies, from traditional machine tool platforms to advanced additive manufacturing platforms. And if you're a technology developer and you're a member of CESMII that is developing next generation smart manufacturing technologies, this is a potential place you can come to actually test those technologies in a pre-competitive environment, a physical capability to access that might be complementary to the rest of what the broader capability that exists in the CESMII capabilities as an organization. And if you're a technology adopter, this is a place where you can de-risk your potential, introduction of those technologies into practice. And we want to find opportunities at, the Department of Energy where we can leverage both of these investments. How can we think of new ways that we can support that kind of activity? Because it's really the translation of these technologies to practice that we're really interested in seeing how, if you are a technology developer, getting your technologies out, finding pathways to get that through, or if you're an adopter, finding ways to de-risk it. But also, it's another opportunity to, if you want to enter the energy technology manufacturing space, I think this is a great place to come because the national labs are a part of the Department of Energy's broader ecosystem. This is a place where collisions can happen. You can network with a broader set of partners that might be complementary to the rest of the kinds of engagement you get through CESMII. So in our view, I think there's some great opportunities where you can leverage the physical capability as well as use the capability to de-risk technologies. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, the technologies, maybe sometimes I think DOD certain things is slow in moving. And one of the last 4 years, 5 years, they made a big strides into making the digital engineering as one of the main theme. That means they date a lot of things. We are able to do a lot of predictive maintenance right now. But that is for the existing things. So if you want to move forward, then the new topic is coming, digital twin. Maybe certain where we manufacture certain things, we want to think through what is that is going to be. What are the things we need to get involved right now? What kind of sensors we need to have to help us better, right? Because we have big systems and all. So I'm more looking at the future. So some of the things what both of you working on attracted us advanced robotics, maybe at the whatever battlefield environment, we want robots to do some things easily, maybe including building some structure. I think, in fact, we got a small technology demonstration we tried to do, I think, with the soldiers. They went there to build small bridge and a small facility of 3D manufacturing at the point of need, using the local material there. And we tested that to figure out what happened and certain things, etc. But that's only a small demo. But robotics are going to be more and more. And then if I look at digital twin, it's a name sounds, but if you look at the ecosystem, that means you need to have your software running fast because it has to interact with the real system. And you need to have the control so that you understand what are the things you're supposed to do. So what kind of computing we have, what kind of algorithms we have, what is that ecosystem? Because all those tools are going to be part of the whole system. It's not only just the manufacturing part. I'm just looking at the whole ecosystem. And there could be a lot of smart people, and small industries may have expertise on those kind of things. So looking at this IoT and the smart manufacturing kind of things, how it's going to help us in moving towards the future. And also, I know DOE is investing a lot of money, like DOD also, on big supercomputers, and we're talking about quantum. Then we're also talking about energy efficient computing, low power computing. So all these things would be part of our manufacturing, advanced manufacturing ecosystem. So that's one of the main interests for me, to really connect the dots to see what expertise you have. Maybe this is what our needs are. Let's look at certain things. So maybe one is the manufacturing aspect. The other thing is I'm just looking for the future to see what are those dots we want to connect.
Yeah, excellent. Well, based on what I've heard, I have a very provocative question, but I'm going to save that to the end. Okay. So you had something in mind, Ryan?
Yeah, I was gonna pull on that thread a little bit more. So I think for me, being in the technology development space, I see the direct benefit of technologies integrating smart manufacturing, right? So putting sensors on systems have made us be able to make parts that others can't at speeds that others can't. It speeds up the R&D process. I think we all know that inherently. But one of the challenges that we face is when we have companies that come in, and they're small and medium-sized enterprises especially, and we say, let's integrate these sensors and let's do smart manufacturing. They often struggle with how to articulate the value proposition that they would receive for making that investment. Everybody up here has pretty large investments in the area of smart manufacturing. So I'm wondering if you can comment maybe on how you articulate that up through your organization about what is the value proposition that you see for smart manufacturing as it relates to your individual mission space within your organization.
I guess I can start. It's actually not a hard value proposition inside NIST, right? You know, we are supposed to be forward thinking. We are, you know, our nickname is we're industry's laboratory, right? We're focused on what does industry need to survive, right? And to thrive in a global marketplace. So I don't think that we have an issue articulating the value out. I think we all have an issue with tying together the impact of federal investment with what we got for the dollars, right? And I'm going to say that gently as a private citizen here. If you look at what other countries are investing in manufacturing innovation, right, we are not keeping up. And we're asking our manufacturers and our Manufacturing USA institutes and our ecosystems approach to punch way above the weight of the federal dollars that are in there, right? And I think that it's really the value proposition to the appropriators that we need to focus on, why this is so important and where we're going to get the gains in productivity, where we are going to get the bite into that circular economy, where we start taking life cycle approaches to things that we produce so that we haven't just solved one problem by creating another one down the line. So I'll stop there.
No, within the DOD, we always have to make a case for value proposition. So one of the things we'll be looking at the success stories really to take them to, so because some of those things are pilot programs, really trying to establish some credibility behind this is what has happened here, this is what is going to come. So it's a team, it's going to be a teamwork, I think. And maybe the one which you mentioned were small industries and all this ecosystem, whatever small, medium industries we're bringing into the institutes and all. That's where we want to interface in a way. We are trying to get them into that system so that they'll understand what is that they're looking for. And this is a process. I think sometimes problems are not easy to explain certain things. I think there's some more way for trying to get those things. And again, I think for us, if we show something, usually the DOD will immediately try to push because we are looking at what is the best way to do all the time. Because anything we start, I think cost is one of the things which we really look at. And then the security of the whole thing. So I think for us, I think maybe these success stories are the ones which are going to be really helpful for us. Okay, NIST has done this, this is what happened. This agency worked. So we try to go there. And sometimes we go for other nations, certain success stories to make a use case. And sometimes to do those things, if we do as a team, then we are going to cover much wider base than trying to leave it open.
Ryan, I love that question. I like your questions too, Haresh, by the way. I like Kelley and Raju, you were saying, I like to build upon that. It's the value proposition, each of the network, like MEP National Network has its own value add institutes network. But when it comes to pitching our value to those decision makers, the policy makers, we need to show we are building network of networks. Very important to show for me that I want to, when I'm talking to the key stakeholders at the, any legislators or at the White House level, I always say, hey, look, Texas MEP, South Carolina MEP centers, they're working with, different stakeholders, including your institutes, trying to get the CMMC cybersecurity requirements and help manufacturers implement those requirements so they can be part of our defense industrial base. Again, trying to connect Raju, you mentioned about connecting the dots, trying to show them that's the value add for our nation. Kelley brought the point of international and the global competitiveness spot on. MEP was part of the Chip Science Act legislation, and for some reason, I remember the clause, Section 10253. Don't know how I remember, but I remember. But that particular, where MEP was asked to work on this, implement the Chip Science Act, but again, wasn't appropriated. So how do we, it's again, beating the drums about what we are doing together to help, US manufacturers. That's the key. That's the key. I want to be able to tell them that, Utah MEP is working with CESMII on those demonstration kits. I want to tell them how we are working with other manufacturing USA institutes. We have MOUs with MXT and CESMII. How we are leveraging each other's resources so the key decision makers know what we are doing is not redundant, but rather complementary and collaborative rather than internal competition. So I think that's where that's how I pitch in my thoughts to the key decision makers.
And I like the frame of return on investment when you think of how each of the people in this room that are adopters are thinking of, the investments that you make in deploying this technology in your own operations. And I think the same thing is true as the federal government. As we're saying, we speak with appropriators and they're often looking at, we're putting this much money into this program. What is the benefit to the nation? And at the Department of Energy, I think that has become a lot clearer over the last several years. I think 14017, which is an executive order in 2021, really looked at supply chain resiliency. And I think out of COVID and out of all these other challenges that our supply chain has had since then, has really shed this light on what is a strong industrial base across, whether it's in defense or in transportation or in energy. And that's really one side of the coin for energy. It's how can we have a strong domestic industrial sector in energy. So thinking of how smart manufacturing might impact that is certainly one major dimension that we bring to it. I think historically at CESMII, there's also been a focus on energy efficiency, which is near and dear to EERE. So the other side of that coin is, how might this impact our national goals from a decarbonization standpoint? So looking at the industrial sector, how much can smart manufacturing improve the energy demand that we have out of different operations? So I think the really encouraging thing since I've come into this role at the office is we can do either or. We don't need to necessarily do both. We can have an operation that might be not necessarily less energy intensive than others, as long as we're building a strong energy manufacturing sector here domestically. So in that sense, the Department of Energy really has transformed its thinking in how we think of the return on investment. And it's in that sense, I think a really encouraging thing when we think of the work that CESMII is doing moving forward.
So just curious, how many in the audience are actually from the industry? Just a hand. Okay, that's quite a few actually. So maybe from your perspective, what you heard them say in terms of return of investment, right? So if you were asked that question, how would Ryan and I pitch our stories to you to make it compelling from your point of view? How do you see the return on investment in being able to invest in smart manufacturing and the respective organization if the opportunity came? So anybody? Yeah, just wait for the microphone to get to you because we need to actually record some of this stuff. So.
So kind of I understand where you're going from. I think one of the things that would be valuable as a manufacturer is, as you said, there are multiple agencies we can work with. Jyoti, you talked about having that, vision for the appropriations folks of that value proposition. That'd be wonderful as a manufacturer, to be able to see that as well. So I know if I have this problem, who do I go to? Do I go to CESMII? Do I go to CESMII? Do I go to the Department of Defense? Today, I would have no idea of who I actually go to. It's really, I know what relationships I have today, and that's who I go to. And that is not clear as a manufacturer how this all works together. So that would be one thing I would love to see.
Great point. Yeah.
I really love that question. Really appreciate you shared that question. I come from small manufacturing world. So before coming to NIST, I worked almost 2 decades for small manufacturers, semiconductor and medical device manufacturing. I know that the painstaking effort it takes for small manufacturer to keep their doors open, to help their communities and build that, the local regional economy there, and give the jobs, especially to those who don't have those, the guidance or the exposure to manufacturing careers. I often think about the foster kids who aged out of the system. That's what keeps me awake. But going back to your question, I think it's very important. Kelley and I, we were talking about it last night at the dinner table, the distinction, or what are our unique resources. So I would say, in my knowledge, and what I learned from Kelley is Manufacturing USA institutes are great in taking these small enterprises to their technological readiness level journey and get them up to that mature technology readiness level, say 6 to 7. That's where MEP centers, Manufacturing Extension Partnership Centers, are more effective. Take those enterprises that are more mature in their technology readiness level and take them to their manufacturing journey, help them cross that TRL to MRL. That's where MEP National Network is very, very effective. The other key things that I noticed when we get some inquiries, I want to really amplify this message that within NIST also, we talk to each other, and beyond NIST to our partners like DOE and Army and DOD network there. What we do is, say, if I get an inquiry about companies wanting to evaluate or validate their technology platform, we talk to the NIST labs. We have a service called Matter Plus. We talk to the NIST labs. We connect that manufacturer with the NIST labs. If NIST labs don't have that resource, and say if Ryan, your Oak Ridge has that resource, we would want to send that manufacturer to Oak Ridge way so that they can understand the resources they have. Secondly, and lastly, I would say, is if the MEP National Network, say if I send the inquiry to Florida Mix, Mike Aller is sitting there, if he cannot resolve it with Florida MEPs, and I'm sure he can, but I'm just making up a scenario. If he cannot, going back to your question, he will not hesitate to connect you with that institute or with other resources with Manufacturing USA Institute. So the mindset is there. We are trying to connect this dot for US manufacturers. I have had contract manufacturers come to my way that I send them to Rapid and America Makes manufacturing institutes. So we want to do that, and that responsibility lies with federal entities. Truly share that knowledge with other stakeholders, other federal entities, and help manufacturers. Because if we don't, we simply miss the point. We miss the point, and I don't want us to miss the point.
Yeah, and maybe I think Kelley's probably a great person to answer this question, but I'll start and then maybe you can continue. I think there's a lot of organizations, and clearly, like when you look at expertise and competency, you're going to see diffuse boundaries between them. So sometimes it's a bit hard to know off the bat, like who's the right person to go to. But I think when these investments are designed in the beginning, there's this thought of not too much overlap. So, but as these organizations grow and build that capability and really take on a more multi-mission approach to their organizations, I think that's where you maybe start seeing these kind of these intersections. But I'd say that in many cases, from what I've seen, when I even look at the ones that you've listed and others that you haven't, I see strengths in each of them and really strong competencies along certain lines. Like the work that Jonathan was showing this morning is very different than the other institutes are pursuing, or the work that's going on at SciMani, for example, also very different. So I think there is some rhyme. Some of it happens organically to the reason. But if it's unclear at any point, I think reaching out to the agency certainly is a great opportunity for us to help. We're here to help industry and to listen to these kinds of concerns, or to also help path you to the right solutions or the right stakeholders that might have that right answer. And then depending on where you are in the TRL spectrum, or if you're more looking at that last mile implementation, or if you're really trying to develop an innovative solution, it might not be even any of the ones that you've mentioned in your question. So I think and maybe passing it back to Kelley, she speaking from the NIST standpoint, the AMNPO, it's a good probably perspective that you can bring there.
Thanks, Chris. And I love the question too. We're often very frustrated by that same thing. It's hard to knock on the door of the federal government and find help. And it's a big place, lots of different agencies. We don't always understand the swim lanes ourselves. What I will say is the Manufacturing USA Network and the MEP network are two of the mechanisms that we offer to try to help you navigate that, right? Each one of the Manufacturing USA Institutes has a federal program officer, right? And they are your connection, to so if you knock on the door of the Institute and the Institute says, I have no idea what to do with that, they know where to pass that question to. I would also say, and she's not here, so I'm just going to say it, that we have manufacturingusa.com, and we have, if you send an email to, I think it's manufacturingusa@nist.gov, right? That sounds right. It sounds like the black hole of mailboxes, right? I don't know how many of you have met Lisa Fronczek, but Lisa Fronczek and Cheryl Leonard make it their mission to look at everything that comes in there and try to figure out how to help you. And so you may not know that somebody is on the other end of that mailbox, but we're going to be pinging Savan over an MEP. We're going to be, trying to help connect you with the NIST, the NIST labs. So it seems big and it seems impersonal. And I know from working with small manufacturers, right, very close to home, and, people that we meet out, it is very frustrating. So I don't want to overpromise, but I can tell you that there are real people on the other ends of those mailboxes. And that's how we get our kicks, is trying to help people when they reach out.
Yeah. Kelley, if I just can follow up on one thing, when I was at the Manufacturing USA Network meeting, there was some discussion about the same question, that it's not just the manufacturers, actually, if there are other technology providers or even academia that they have a question in their mind and they don't know where to go or who to approach. That above and beyond the website that you mentioned, it was a Manufacturing USA website, but I think something at a higher level that says, go to that high, I don't even know what to call it, but answermyquestion.com or something like that, right? Yeah. But then that would then sort of disseminate that to your point, that right now that's the manual mechanism, right? That there was some talk about that. I'm just kind of repeating.
Yes, and I want to point out there is a manufacturing.gov website. That's right? That's it. Yeah. And if you go there, that is a portal. I'm going to say there's no money in the federal government to support that portal, right? This is an unfunded mandate, right? That MEP and Manufacturing USA are trying to work with all of our interagency team to make sure that the information on that page stays fresh. But it is a one-stop shop for seeking information for help. The other thing I will say, and this is frustrating to me too, I come from a family with a lot of small manufacturers in our history. And one thing that is, the SBIR program is a fantastic program for applying for development money if you're a small manufacturer, a small business. What is generally difficult is you have to catch the cycle, right? So you have to be subscribed to the newsletter so that you know when those funding opportunities come out. But if you're looking for funding, there are actually very few mechanisms besides SBIR that stay open, that because all of us, our funding comes from Congress. We have to have an authority connected with that. And so we don't have buckets of random money generally, right? And so I'm going to save you. If that's what you're looking for, is a bucket of random money that we can push out to fund you, that would be a unicorn. I don't know where it lives.
No, I think I want to add a couple of things. I think everything eloquently spoken. I think that's a very good question. Within the DOD, I think the other thing which we, across most of the labs, maybe with the local state government, there is a non-profit kind of a entity was there at most of the, I know Army and some of the Navy labs have an outreach arm where any small industry or anybody can contact them and they connect back to these things. So it is helping us a lot because a lot of local things, it really gets updated to the local things. Maybe it's not at the global level, something coming up, but this is at a different level. And so sometimes we created some open universities or open campuses kind of a thing within the labs so that we can reach out to academia and industry in those areas. So sometimes maybe we don't publicize those things. Maybe that is one of the big problems for us. That is, but there's a continuously process of improving that. That's what I think these kind of things is what we need from people like you so that we can go back and figure out what are the other things we're missing. So we are trying hard to make those connections because we know that there's a lot of other talent is there. And in addition to SBIR, there's another program called the STTR. That is also a good funding mechanism to really evaluate certain things. And one of the things which I noticed was SBIR to start off, it's a small funding to come. But once they come and work, they know, when they talk to us, they know our problems much better. So they propose looking at us for some other solution, so the relationship will evolve. So we need to start somewhere, but I think there are mechanisms maybe within the government, maybe we're not doing a good job of advertising all those things. So I think we do have those things, maybe with all this developing the IT kind of things coming and all, DOD established a big component in the Bay Area, just to attract these people, just to say these are the type of DOD things we're looking for.
Excellent.
So real quick,
Yeah.
one comment I will make, because we are at the MDF and I did a terrible job of giving the expanse of what we do. One of the programs that we have is actually called a tech collaboration program. And the idea behind this is that we have our core funding focused on specific areas. We do interact with companies on that core R&D, but we do have a program where there's funding actually set aside. I think, Kelley, this is sort of to your point. DOE has set aside a chunk of our funding so that when industry comes through the door, sees interesting potential collaborations, we can talk with our staff that are executing that work. We can actually jointly propose. We go on, there's an open funding call on the federal website. It's essentially a 4 or 5 page proposal that you fill out. We don't fund and send out dollars to the companies, but what it does is it allows us to have resources sitting here at the MDF where industry can get rapid access to the facility, rapid access to staff. So if you go out on the floor and see a piece of equipment and say, hey, my smart manufacturing technology could really help solve this problem in this industry, but I haven't had a way to get that out, this actually is a good mechanism to say, hey, how can I partner with you on trying this out on a piece of equipment? We already have funds here. DOE headquarters does have to review it. We have to justify that it's in the mission space, but then we can turn on that money and execute.
I want to quickly
Sorry, just one small interruption. Are there any exhibitors here that are part of that? So if you are, then your bus is leaving now?
I want to quickly add to your question. Where are you from? Where is your company?
Excuse me. I currently work for the, so I actually currently work for the Manufacturing Leadership Council within the National Association of Manufacturers.
Okay.
So we're one of the kind of non-government agencies also supporting manufacturing. But this is often a question we get is, how can our members work with the associations and how do we all work better together? So extending kind of cross-agency beyond the federal government to, as you said, there's academic agencies, there's nonprofits. Eventually, how do we all work together to support is where I eventually would like to get to.
Thank you for asking that. I just want to echo what Kelley was saying, that manufacturing.gov website, which is being revitalized, is really a great portal to go and look at some of these resources that are available across different agencies. And also you contact your regional MEP center. That's huge. They can also connect the dots for you within MEP National Network or with other, other networks, other stakeholders. Thank you.
If the audience has any other questions for the panelists, it's a great time to raise your hand. Okay. One of the things that I was on was that, when I was listening to you about what your respective missions are and how you see CESMII and MDF becoming part of that mission to do that, is there a mechanism? So I'm thinking of a Venn diagram where you have your individual focus areas and missions. We have our own capabilities. Is there a perfect Venn diagram where you have this middle portion where everything intersects and you have those core things that you want to go after to showcase success, right? I mean, we want to.
I'll start and then I can pass on to my fellow panelist. I think we need to go where rubber meets the road, Haresh. And that to me it's very important that Tennessee MEP, Dwayne's team talk with you and Ryan, say a manufacturer come with a certain need, whoever brings that manufacturer at the table, but understanding the manufacturer needs and seeing which are the gaps we can fill together. That's very important, that some of the gaps, say for example, MEP centers provide technical and business services. They are good at again, connecting the dot for that manufacturer, making them understand why that energy efficiency is needed for this project, or why that transformative investment is needed for this project, helping them connect the dots so that they can be profitable, sustainable, and keep hiring more people. If they need access to, say, Oak Ridge test bed / user facility, you have that resource. Bringing that resource, leveraging CESMII's technology roadmap or the road mapping tool or the demonstration kit. Understanding it always goes with the needs assessment, and the need lies with the small manufacturers who are making those products and enabling the real world applications. That's where I would want to start.
So trying to understand the question, maybe I'll answer it one way. I think it's, if you're getting at how offices can work together, different parts of the federal agency or agencies can work together on like singular efforts like that maybe either of you are pursuing. It can be challenging. I think when you think of how we execute money, whether it's the DOE, the DOD, or Commerce, so it can be challenging to see all of us putting money in one bucket, and because we all do our project management very differently, and the practices in each agency can be quite different. But I think there are initiatives that span missions. When you think of defense and commerce in general, and energy, workforce is one that to me is like an area where all of us have equities. None of us can be successful in our respective missions if we don't have a strong workforce in this area. So I could see that kind of effort, attracting attention across all of us. So the work that CESMII's done on the workforce side, or that MDF is doing on their own, naturally has that attention and interest from all of us. So I think there's definite synergies in the workforce angle.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Sure. And if I'm just going to echo what Chris said, there isn't a lack of alignment, right? What there is a lack of a tangible mechanism that allows us to all contribute to that project and where we all are aligned. And, as we sit here right now, none of us has an FY25 budget, much less an FY26 budget, right? And we're all federal agencies with a lot of bureaucracy between when we get a budget and how we can execute. And the way that the fun of working within that environment where, yeah, well, it's challenging to say, how do I plan for something in 6 months? How do I plan for something next year? And then get all our ducks aligned. The day that we get our budget is probably also the day that Chris gets our budget and the day that we all have to start spending our budgets, right? And so the exercise in imagining what we can do together has to proceed whether we get the money or not, or we have to spend it faster than we can plan, right? And so what you see is all of our heads spinning on how to get that alignment upfront with enough runway so that if the opportunity presents itself to do something new or to, program money in a new way around that central function, we can figure it out fast enough, right? So with that challenge, I think, one of the experiments and the mechanisms we already have is through Manufacturing USA. So I'm sitting here as Commerce because we're a sponsor of Manufacturing USA Institutes. DOE is a sponsor of Manufacturing USA Institutes, again, in DOD as well. So that is one area where we can collaborate on a mission. We just have to keep the flavors in of energy efficiency, national security, and economic security in there as well. So I'm going to say, to me, that's where the rich opportunity lies, and then bringing MEP in with all of that, since their partnership, the network of networks can kick in.
Okay, good. I think maybe we have time for maybe one more brief discussion. Raju, did you need to add to what you okay?
I think,
no, please go ahead. I didn't mean
no,
to
I think,
interrupt. Okay.
yeah, my other members, I think, have spoken about this one. Maybe sometimes you're looking for a Venn diagram, maybe within the federal government, the things move fast, sometimes funding point of view. Maybe, and I'll give you an example. I think sometimes I want to give you something like, maybe we'll try to say Department of Defense, these are the critical technology areas, hypersonics. And okay, hypersonics, that may mean something to the Air Force, different to the Army and Navy. So the funding will be divided. When we go for manufacturing, because the type of things we do is going to be different. So it's not one bad diagram, because based on that, the funding is going to be different. But ultimately, the manufacturing aspect, different things, we have to go to the same building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things is maybe the manufacturing institutes is to go kind of a thing to start off. And sometimes when things, because they have to move faster or certain things, maybe we try to look at what are the other options we have. Maybe that's where we'll be looking at expertise, because for this one, MDA has this one. So maybe we need to call them into this one.
Yeah.
So those things are going to come. So having this network set up in a way is going to help.
Okay, that makes sense. Right.
No other questions from the audience?
So, I'm hearing a little bit of talk about as far as some direct funding and allocations for your teams, maybe not meeting and keeping up with some of the rest of the world, but certainly the U.S. in the last several years through Inflation Reduction Act, CHIPS Act, Infrastructure Bill, there's been a lot of infusion of investments and incentives for industry here in the U.S. So indirectly, maybe it's not directly going to your agencies, but through these other investment programs, how do we jointly, public sector, private sector, help to foster smart manufacturing in these places where we are making investments, get them up and off the ground as quickly as possible? Hydrogen hubs, battery manufacturing, things like that. How do we get those industries started here in the U.S. as quickly as possible?
I'm going to hope that Chris, someone, right? We didn't see Bill and Ira over in Commerce.
That's a great question, and I think actually CESMII is participating in some of those programs through the Smart Manufacturing State Leadership Program, right?
Yeah.
But when we look at the Bill and Ira money, a lot of it is very late stage investment in infrastructure building here in the United States, bringing companies here, starting new companies in key areas like batteries, critical materials, hydrogen, and other renewable energy technologies. So smart manufacturing plays a major role. And I think when we look at, how those companies are going to be successful in the future, the ones that are starting up, it's going to be in innovating and bringing in technologies like smart manufacturing so that they're able to be cost competitive in the broader landscape with our foreign competition. So I think it's finding, for people in this room, it might be, if you're a technology developer, how do you partner with a company that might be producing batteries, or a company that is actually going to be translating ore into lithium that we need for our future energy solution. And I think us at AMTO in the Department of Energy, we want to make sure that we're providing the opportunities for you all to make those connections with that part of the ecosystem, if it's not happening already. So encourage you all to reach out to us so that we can try and find ways of plugging you in with others. But I know that CESMII's been really successful, I think, in making those connections with some of our infrastructure offices as well, at least on the DOE side. I don't know if on the DOD side, if there's any similar things.
I'll quickly add, really appreciate you raising that question. So from MEP National Network side, we responded to DOE's ask when DOE rolled out the State Manufacturing Leadership Program, again, to strengthen our manufacturing ecosystem. I know 12 MEP centers were selected for that DOE's State Manufacturing Leadership Program. And the MEP National Network, along with their institutes, they are great in partnering with their state, regional, local stakeholders, along with the national stakeholders. So I know that 12 MEP centers are now in the phase 2 of that State Manufacturing Leadership Program, more to come. And it's critical, your regional MEP center and your Manufacturing USA Institute network also to be part of that, in some form or fashion, to be part of such programs as the funding rollout, applicable programs.
Go ahead.
I think within the DOD, I think similar to the DOE, I think we have 9 innovative institutes under the belt, so we'll be looking towards that.
We lose count because we like.
No. I'm just giving you an example.
I just heard it was 19. Now it's going to be 20, and
no, that is the whole thing. But I'm just trying to go down to the DOD. But one of the big things with the DOD is all the things we want to make things here, so we have full control on what's happening. It doesn't matter what. So that is what really the DOD is pushing, in the sense, whatever the technologies, what our industries we are funding to manufacture certain things, we want to make sure the technology is here, because otherwise it's not going to pass through to be utilized. So we depend a lot on this thing. That is a mandate for us. So, and how the other things are going to happen is sometimes we work with other agencies to figure out how things need to happen, because we cannot get out of that one because we need to get this mandate kind of thing to happen. So maybe I'm not answering your question, but I think certain things were pushed to do that. I think maybe sometimes it's taking time because it's a big industry for the whole thing to get the arms around to figure out what exactly. But it's going to happen because even a lot of parts, I think we are getting really a big mandate that to prove that is made here. So
great. I think we have time for just one more question. I need to give you enough time for a break because the next session begins at 2:30. So
sorry, this might be a tough one too. So my name's Dan Radomski. I'm from Michigan. I grew up as a machinist. I've been a manufacturer my whole life. I ran small to medium-sized manufacturing operations. I now consult with small to medium-sized manufacturers as well as large manufacturers, and we help them adopt Industry 4.0 technologies, help them with reducing their energy use and reducing waste, now reducing emissions, all the things that align with what DOE is doing. And I really applaud what the DOE is doing and the IEDO office and the Advanced Manufacturing Office to try to help especially our small to medium-sized manufacturers that are probably the most subject to going out of business or not being globally competitive with these types of support systems. But we have two problems, right? One, we work closely with Ford and GM in trying to adopt these technologies, and they struggle. So small to mediums really struggle, and they struggle for two reasons. One, the owner has 5 jobs. They are running the business, selling the new business, and they're running HR, they're running operations. They just don't have the time, and they don't have a lot of the staff that can carry out like a significant smart manufacturing, rollout, let alone a demonstration or a pilot project. Two, most small, medium-sized manufacturers and even large manufacturers have legacy equipment that's very old. And to start in smart manufacturing, you have to have machinery that collects data, right? So you have machinery that's 10 years old or older, it's not collecting data. And you see this not just with the machinery in the old 30-year-old presses, but the PLCs, the conveyor belts, everything's it's not connected, right? So you can't really bring about efficiencies with IIoT or Industry 4.0 technologies. You can't use some of these even proven solutions we're seeing with artificial intelligence for machine optimization, supply chain optimization, if you cannot collect data. And this is a major capital lift, especially for a small to medium-sized company to make that leap. So I know there's not one answer here, and it's a big challenge, but I just want to make sure it's very clear what the problem is, what the gap is.
Yeah, and I think those two pieces are really an important part of our discussions as well. I think not just with manufacturers directly, but even through the networks that we are interfacing with. Workforce development is one piece because you talked about they don't have the time, so you need to have some way of getting that information to them, do the assessments with them, and then move over to the technology side and say, okay, what is it that we can do? So CESMII has some kits that you can actually provide to these manufacturers where they don't have the connectivity and make it happen. So it's a joint effort there, but I hear you. I think those are two major challenges.
Haresh,
okay.
I'd also like to just point MXD is in the room right over here. And so I know that is where MXD was first founded, right, to address that problem really of legacy, machine tools and how you began, to get those, tools to talk to each other and to get the data off of that. So I'm going to defer to you. So.
Okay. So we will wrap this up. Let's thank our panelists for being here. A great discussion. We have another session at 2:30 in the other room. And please look at the schedules and make sure that you're in the right place at the right time as you move forward with the rest of the evening. So
Also, if anybody is going on to the tour, you can leave your stuff